Not content with mismanaging our waste and sewage, the water companies are now putting the prices up again. Hi, this is Everyday Prepper. Welcome to the channel. Now, on the subject of water and sewage, obviously we've had the problems in Devon with the Cryptosporidium, the bacteria infections that I think a couple of people have died from. Very, very serious stuff, and they've only just taken them off of a boil water notice. There's also many areas that have had an E. coli problem as well. Or maybe it's one person died from the E. coli. Can't remember, but it's all very serious. I also noticed this the other day, and this is a stopcock that appears to be leaking. There's no vans anywhere in sight. This was yesterday, so it's Thursday, which would have been the 11th of July. No Southern Water vans, which is my area, and it was a weekday as well, so somebody surely should have been working on this, but they weren't. And a really, really hot day as well, so a lot of that water was evaporating, so there's a lot more coming out of there than was remaining in the road, if you know what I mean. So they obviously don't give us stuff. So we've just read that they're all putting the water prices up by 21%. Now, inflation is now just about 2%, so I'm not sure quite how they're justifying that, and my water bill's only just gone up anyway, literally a couple of months ago, so really not sure what they're playing at. I'm sure if you were to look at their CEO's yearly payments, there'll be somewhere in the millions, as well as share options and all that sort of stuff. So that's where our money's going. And we know for a fact as well that these people are pumping waste into our seas. And rather than actually treat the waste properly, now what they're doing is they're building a longer pipe to chuck it into the sea a little bit further out, so that it doesn't affect swimmers so much. Nice. So that's water for you. There was also a test that we've had the results of apparently in 2022, where they have tested all the water providers across the whole of the UK, and all of the water in the UK is potentially at risk from Cryptosporidium outbreaks or E. coli. They found E. coli in some water. E. coli is a naturally occurring bacteria in the body, so in low levels doesn't necessarily cause an issue. So they're saying potentially, and let me just quote this. This was a bit worrying. It said the presence of an indicator E. coli or Enterococcus does not mean that disease-causing bacteria are present, just that we cannot say they are absent. You could probably drink water with quite a few indicator bacteria in it without getting sick. So I'd rather not drink any of it, to be honest, which is why I've got a British Berkefeld water filter, which I've been using now for a couple of months, and the water from it tastes absolutely fantastic. It doesn't taste bleachy, so normally, when you pour the water into a glass from your tap, you can smell the bleach straight off of it, which is what they're doing. It's just chucking bleach at it, which will probably kill a lot of the bacteria, if not most of it. But the water filter filters out that horrid bleachy taste, and it just tastes like spring water. It tastes great. It tastes like something out of spring water, bottled water. So I use that all the time. And that's not the Berkey filter, that's the British Berkefeld. Apparently the British Berkefeld was the original filter. And anyway, this one was a lot cheaper than a Berkey, the US made ones. So I'll chuck a link in the description below. But yeah, they're great filters, and I would definitely recommend it. So that's water. So they're all putting the prices up, which is just great, just like we need prices going up in any area of our lives. Also, I just double checked, there's 8 or 9 areas now in the southeast with either no water or low pressure as of today, and that's on the Southern Water website, and that's those are all unplanned. They're all incidents, so it could be roadworks where someone's dug into a pipe, which quite often happens, or just generally problems with the supplies. It's just all mismanaged, and the infrastructure is very old as well. I know they keep going on about that, and that's probably why they're trying to justify putting the prices up. But yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, to be honest. So then yesterday I also saw the article about problems with Visa payments and card payments. Now that's about the fourth or fifth time recently that I've seen that happen, and Sainsbury's seems to be particularly vulnerable. I checked with the where I do the deliveries. I popped in and had a word with the manager in Sainsbury's, my local one, and he said, yeah, they had problems that morning, yesterday, Thursday, but it was all okay in the afternoon. But apparently, supermarkets up and down the country had this problem with payments, and were asking people to pay by cash. So if you had cash, great. If you didn't, then there was a problem. Petrol stations had problems too with payments. One person was quoted as saying they pulled up into the petrol station on fumes, couldn't fill up, didn't have any cash with them because all the payment systems were down, and they couldn't get fuel to go to work or go to wherever they needed to do. So if you just imagine for a moment, if you will, that, bearing in mind this has happened, and it could be a cyber attack, it could be, was it a software update one time they blamed it on? They always come out with this excuses, which could be rubbish, could be the truth. Either way, it's still happening and it's still causing problems, major problems. So if you imagine just for a sec, that this was to go, the whole payment system in Britain was to go, in the UK was to go down for 2 days. So what would happen there? I'm speculating here, so I'd like you to speculate really, and chuck some comments in below as to what you think might happen. But I would imagine the banks would shut because there would be a massive run on cash after 1 day. So on the second day, you'd have people running out of cash because not everyone, unless you're a sensible prepper, you wouldn't necessarily have cash put aside, or not enough to maybe live your life for a couple of days. So depending on how much you spend in a day, but if you just imagine after 2 days, it's going to cause major problems. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people fill up with their cars every day using a card, or they're paying with their phone. Now, if those payment systems are down, you end up with queues backlogged, the banks will be shut. I would imagine a pretty much collapse of society in just 2 days with the payment systems going down. I could be wrong. We might be more resilient and more calm as a nation, as a population, but you only have to drive down the road and see how arseholes will pull out in front of you and stick their fingers up out the window at you and all that sort of thing. There's a lot of tension still in the UK, and I think it would only take a couple of things or something major like that to affect the whole country at once for a glimpse of a complete collapse. So what do we do about that? Well, again, what if the water was undrinkable across the whole of the UK because of some problem all of a sudden? Probably more likely that payment systems would go down rather than water would go down. But if water went down for the whole of the country, they're not going to have enough bottled water to give out. So if you haven't got water stashed, you're going to be panicking very quickly. So, as preppers, what do we do? Well, you should have water anyway, certainly food and water, but have some cash put aside, have some fuel put aside. It may not be immediately obvious that we don't necessarily need a fuel shortage or a fuel crisis to have fuel as a backup, because if the payment systems go down, everyone is going to be queuing up. You're never going to be able to get into a petrol station. They'll all be shut down, especially if it's over a long period of time. Well, I say long period, maybe a couple of days is all it would take. So yeah, I think it's important to have cash, fuel, water, and all your food, definitely as part of your preps. So that was just a couple of things I came across yesterday that were happening. And I thought it was interesting as well because the payment system affects my deliveries where I work, and when it's all shut down, you're sort of thinking, why am I not getting any orders coming in? And that's because people can't order online. So it majorly affects me as well. And I notice it fairly quickly. But it didn't seem to impact me too much yesterday, luckily. So after all of that, the good news is the F-16s are on their way to Ukraine. Now, I say that a bit tongue-in-cheek. The reason I say that, like I did, is because my last video was, one of my last videos was about the all the typhoons that I spotted on flight radar that were flying up and down the east coast of the country, mainly up in sort of Cumbria up north. And there was a massive exercise going on. There was a couple of big military and NATO exercises going on, which I didn't know at the time, and I found out subsequently from people who obviously know a lot more than I do about military exercises and stuff. And some of you guys have been really, really detailed. I don't know where you're getting your intel from, but you obviously know a lot about the military, or maybe you are connected with military or something. But yeah, really interesting. So thanks for posting all of that. But that clarified it all, and it was kind of, I wasn't panicking about it. I knew there would probably be a reason behind it, but it was all very interesting, especially like 1 or 2 days before the UK general election. It was a bit weird, but there was one comment that said, yeah, nothing to worry about, it's a normal exercise. You want to worry when you see F-16s in the air. Well, might be time to worry, because we've now been told the F-16s are being shipped over. If not, they're already there. They're going to be placed around Norway and Finland, I think, and all around the Baltics. There's speculation that they will be flown by not Ukrainians, because they haven't had time to train them, and they won't be as good as pilots who know how to fly them. So NATO pilots will be flying them. So you'll have NATO pilots flying F-16s, which are nuclear capable. Unlikely that they'll be holding nuclear stuff, I'm sure, but it's definitely an upgrade, and it's definitely a fact that they're on their way. Well, it's a fact as I can best verify anyway. It's all over the news. I'm sure there are lies in the news. Why would they lie about something that big? But yeah, so they also said that F-16s will be in the air this summer. Now, what's interesting about that is that was all in the UK press as well, and so that was UK summer. As far as I'm concerned, is July and August. September we're starting to go into autumn, right? So that's the next kind of 60 days or so. So what else is happening in the next 60 days? Well, Viktor Orban, who is the president of Hungary, has recently visited Xi Jinping in China, and also Zelensky in Ukraine and Putin. And he came out from all of those meetings, put a report together, and said that in the next 60 days, we're going to see escalation like you've never seen in the Ukraine. And we're going to see casualties and death like you've never seen, in the war from when it started up until now. You're going to see more than what we've already seen in the next 60 days. That's pretty frightening. So is that to do with the F-16s? I don't know. I thought they wanted to try and de-escalate the whole thing and everything else. I mean, I've seen that Zelensky is quoted. Excuse me. Zelensky is quoted as saying, "These high-tech fighter jets will bring just and lasting peace closer." Really? I doubt that. I just can't see how that can happen. So yeah. Now, I've said before that my thoughts on all this World War III nuclear malarkey vacillates each week, and it's very confusing. You read one bit of news and you think, oh, it's all died down. It's all, the election, everything's moved away from the war, and then the elections died down, and now it's all go, and they're getting F-16s there. So this week, I'll be mostly thinking, yeah, World War II's coming. Next week might be a bit different. But the reason I think that is just because if you were to take each week from the start of this year, and work your way through each week, there's been escalations, not de-escalations, every single week. It's almost happening on a daily basis now. So it seems like the whole thing's happening in slow motion, but there is lots happening, and there's a big build-up. You've got NATO putting nuclear missiles literally all around all the NATO countries bordering Ukraine. You've got Russia doing the same. You've got Belarus has now put nuclear missiles all around there as well, and that's now a threat to Poland and the Baltics. So that's all escalated in the last literally few weeks. So something's definitely likely to kick off. Now, the other thing as well, over the next, you've got 60 days, that takes us into September. Then you've only got October and November before the US presidential election. Now that's interesting, because you've got this prick Biden is, clearly incapable of walking or standing up, let alone stringing a sentence together. That's not his fault. He's just old. He's too old. The guy's demented. But he's so arrogant. He's holding on to this election. Now everyone's crying about, what if, Trump's going to get in and everything else. It doesn't matter either way. But if he stays in, if Biden stays, Trump will get in, surely. It would be a miracle if he gets elected. Even the Democrats want him out. So I'm wondering, and again, this is my own speculation, is that does he know something that we don't? Is there going to be some kind of massive declaration of war, which we were told was going to happen on June the 6th, which never did, by Andrew Bridgen. Andrew Bridgen kept going on about, and he's disappeared off the radar now as well, I think. I was following him for a while. But he said, "Oh yeah, we're at war with Russia. They just haven't told us yet. They're going to tell us in June or July," and that didn't happen. So that was interesting. I could have got that wrong. But yeah, I wonder, is there going to be a massive declaration of war, and then the election's cancelled or postponed for a period of time? So maybe he knows that, and that's why he's holding on. I don't know. I really don't know. So yeah, interesting times indeed. Now. So yeah, it's just a quick update as to where I'm at. On my personal preps, something interesting happened the other day on my solar battery bank. So this is my main battery bank. I did a video a while back. It was when I had some membership set up and I was doing membership videos, which I ended up taking the video down. But I should probably put it back up. But anyway, I had a problem. So I used to have 4 12-volt batteries in my main battery bank. And my old solar charge controller, which was one of these, I think it was a Photonic Universe or EPVA or something like that, MPPT charger, and it kept shutting down. It just completely shut down. I was like, well, why is this happening? Is it the charge controller or is it the batteries? So I took all the batteries out, took the whole system apart, checked each battery, and one of them, so all of the rest were like 12.9, fully charged, but one out of the 4 was 10 volts, which means dead. Now these batteries are over 5 years old, and they only have a life of about 5 years, whereas the new LifePo batteries are about 10 years lifespan, and they're much better, but obviously much more costly. So I will eventually upgrade with one of those. So I took the dead one out. In fact, I've still got it because I was maybe thinking I might revive it, but I think I've probably left it too long now. Once it's too old, it just needs to be recycled. So I've got 3 batteries left in my battery bank. Now I changed over my charge controller to a Victron charge controller, which is a 50 amp one. Much better. It's got Bluetooth, it's got an app on the phone, it tells you a whole lot of detail, and it goes through loads of different charging stages as well. It really kind of knows what your batteries need. So I've had that hooked up for a couple of months now, and I had noticed that my readout on my battery was showing as 11 point, well, it was under 12 volts anyway, which is wrong. It just means fully discharged. So anything lower than about 12.2 is kind of pretty much discharged with no load on it. So I had no load on it, and it was just showing as that was its level. So I looked on the history, and it was like, oh yeah, literally about 3 days ago, all of a sudden the battery bank voltage went down to its lowest to about 11.2 volts, something like that. It's like way low, which means fully discharged. But during the day, obviously the sunshine was chucking energy through the solar panels, and I was getting 14.9 volts during the day. But then at night time, it was shooting down to 11 odd. So I was about to this morning get the batteries out and find out if one's dead, because that's what it looks like. However, I checked this morning, first thing, before there was really any sunlight on the solar panels, and it was back up to 12.9 again. So I'm not sure what's happened there. I've got a feeling that the charge controller I've got, the Victron one, also has a battery balancing function in it, and that's possibly what it's done, is it's kind of sorted the problem out. That's what I'm hoping anyway. But right now it's they're all about 13 odd volts, because I've still got some sunshine coming in on the panels. But I looked over the history. In the last couple of days, the lowest it's gone down is about 12.8, something like that. So it looks like it's fixed the problem, which is great. Saved me a job. So as far as preps are concerned, I've got pretty much everything in place that I would want. I'm still increasing my food stash. I'm rotating, obviously, checking dates on things, and obviously maintaining my solar and keeping an eye on that. Batteries will die, will need replacing over the years. I'll do that as I need to, but that's why I'm going to be filming some more outdoors stuff, some more fitness stuff. As I said, that was my last prep. I've been doing my fitness program now. It's been working very well. I'm almost at the end of my first week, and feeling much better already. God knows what I'm going to feel like in 6 weeks' time, as long as I'm not injured and or don't do something silly. And I continue it. I reckon I'm going to be feeling on top of the world, which would be absolutely great. And I've got my other channel which I've set up to show more specific fitness, mental health, well-being, and that kind of stuff as well. It's slightly away from prepping. So I've got the other channel for that, just to keep things a little bit separate. I'm going to be I'm pitching my tent in my garden tonight, so I'm going to sleep in my tent. It's one of those really claustrophobic ones, low profile, one man. It's the one that I think I said on a previous video that I bought it, and I dived into it in Go Outdoors just to check it out. So the size seems okay, but I'm not sure how I'm going to be with claustrophobic small area inside. We'll see how we go. So I might video that as well, and then once I know how it feels, once I know what keeps me warm at night, whether I'm going to get cold, what extras I'm going to need, then I'll go and do some wild camping. I'm kind of keep putting it off because I'm nervous, if I'm honest. Nervous about confrontation, nervous about someone telling me to leave. But I know the law. It's not against the law. It's basically a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. So if somebody asks you to move, then you move. And as long as you don't resist or leave any mess, then no police would need to be involved, essentially. So so I've been checking out a lot of channels about backpacking and wild camping, and that's what I plan to do lots of this summer. So I think with all that said, I'm waffling on now. So thanks very much for watching, and stay prepared.